Welcome everybody, Film Fan 108 here to my Blu-ray pickup video for December of 2020. Oh my god, we have finally reached this point. It has been beyond a struggle trying to make this video over and over again. I've tried several times live streaming and you name it, it has been a disaster. But I'm finally going to get this done for you. We are finally going to be wrapping up 2020 and the pickup videos, the final one for the year. And let's get down to it, shall we? And the stack this time around. Oh my lord, baby. The stack is incredibly plentiful, guys. Stuff from Black Friday that I had pre-ordered that had come my way. You know, stuff that I found, certain things online that I took a chance on. A lot of really great pickups, guys. So let's get into it, shall we? With the first title that I got, and that is none other than Midsummer. But not just any edition of Midsummer. No, the director's cut, limited collector's edition release from A24 themselves. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is now out of print. And what's interesting about it is that I remember when this came out and people were buying it, and I was a little bit on the fence at first about it, and then I thought to myself, I kind of do want it. And when I finally decided that I wanted it, well, the damn thing was already gone. It all sold out, so I thought, well, okay, I guess that's just never going to happen. And then A24 got in more copies, and I'm like, if I don't order this now, I will never get a chance to. And so I pulled the trigger in a big bad way, man. And so I'm finally got a really great rare edition of Midsummer, man. Let's kind of open this sucker up, man. I mean, you got this on the front there with really cool design, stuff on the back. And on the inside, it's actually really interesting, man. Very unique artwork. Very interesting addition, man. I love this, where the disc is actually kind of with sort of the design of her as sort of like the flower lady, which is actually really great within the movie. And different, like, art prints. Almost like a book from the actual community itself. You kind of look at the... oh, jeez, a weird, weird stuff here, man. Oh my god, very weird, man. But I gotta tell you, extremely unique, man. Wow, talk about a very unique edition of a movie. Actually, I should say the movie is incredibly unique as well. Now, I remember seeing this in the movie theater with John. We did a review for the channel, and it was such a unique and interesting experience because I had already seen Hereditary at that point and really did like Hereditary. Yes, it was kind of odd and weird and sometimes didn't make sense, but I went along for the ride and I really enjoyed it. So I was like, okay, he's coming back for a different one, and John and I are both big horror movie lovers. We enjoyed the trailer enough, we wanted to give it a chance. And what a wild experience in the movie theater, man. You know, John and I have experienced so many movies together, horror movies, and our tastes are very wildly vast. We love a lot of stuff. And we're sitting there, and this movie is just getting weirder and weirder by the second, man. This community of people and just how they are. And you're like, something's not right here. And the more you go into this community and you dive into their culture, you're like, wow, something's really messed up. And it crescendos into this scene where this outsider is impregnating this teenage girl, and there's like all these old women around them. And by the way, they're all naked. It ain't like they're clothed. They're all naked and all different ages and body types and you name it. and they're all like chanting like oh, and they're all like doing that and pushing him into her, and I'm like, oh my god. And I remember John sitting right next to me, and I'm sitting next to him, and we just look at each other so uncomfortably. I mean, we really did. We're like, hey, how about them Yankees? Really going well this year. Yeah. we're like, oh my god, it's going weird. And I mean, it was an experience that I've rarely had in a movie theater, especially with a horror film. And this man just was wild. I mean, basically, the movie is about this group of guys that want to go overseas to their other friends, sort of like community communal experience. And these guys want to go because, hey, chicks and inhibitions, and just let it all go. And one of the guy's girlfriends has had tragedy in her life, and she's just really messed up in a big bad way. And he brings her, and they don't want him to bring her, but he's whatever. He's gonna go. And what they don't realize is that basically they've just been led into like this crazy wild trap and sacrificial rituals and all kinds of sort of ritualistic communal uh, things that are going on in this community, and that you realize that they are the sacrifices, and it's just one crazy scenario after another. This movie is wild. Okay, this movie is crazy, crazy wild. And a movie like this, I gotta be honest, you just kind of have to let yourself go and let yourself be a part of the experience. There's certain movies where you want to dissect every little thing, and you definitely can with this movie. That's for sure. But there's a certain part of me that was watching it, especially the second time now, rewatching it. I just sort of let it take me in, man, because I was like, this is one of those movies where you're just diving into this community and these people and their culture and their rituals and sort of the rules and the law that they abide by, and it's just so much to take in, and you just have to just let it flood over you. But if you do, this is a very entertaining and very satisfying experience if you do, man. I gotta admit, the acting here is absolutely top notch. Florence Pugh, who plays the main chick that's traumatized here, she is fantastic. I mean, she goes through the range of emotions: scared, angry, sad. I mean, she's just going through everything, trying to overcome her emotions and her feelings, but yet trying to deal with this community that's pushing her a certain way. Her boyfriend that's not making anything easy. I mean, she is caught in the crossfire in so many ways, and I just love that performance. Actually, everybody here is really fantastic, man. I love the set design here with sort of the communal buildings. I love the costume design. I love the way this thing is shot. It's such an experience of a movie, and it's a movie that honestly you need to watch more than once, because if you watch it once, I think a lot of things will A, pass you by, and B, I kind of feel like you kind of miss the point of the movie to a certain degree. And I think it takes you a time or two to really invest in the movie to sort of understand it all. But once you do, I think it's extremely satisfying. It really is, man. I got to admit, the director, Ari Aster, whether it's Hereditary or this movie, man, you gotta give this guy credit, because man, he does different movies that you're not expecting. And he's one of those new auteurs within the horror genre that is extremely experimental. Somebody that loves the horror genre, that loves homages to the horror genre, but likes to bend it to a certain degree, and likes to give you a really wild clusterfuck experience. But man, it's one worth diving into. That's for damn sure, man. I mean, it is a wild one, but man, it just confirms my suspicions. Whether it's movies like Hostel or other films like this one, I'm not going overseas. I'm just saying, man. I'll stick in my apartment watching movies, going to a few places. Fuck it, man. I ain't going nowhere, man. My ass is staying put, man. Fuck that. So, but this movie owes a lot of homages to things like The Wicker Man and a lot of other stuff. You can see the influences, but Ari Aster spins it in his own unique way, man. It really does. And you get the director's cut here, and I got to admit that, you know, I've seen the theatrical and now the director's cut. I like both cuts equally. I do have to say the director's cut dives more into the communal experience and more of their traditions and who they are. And it was already a long movie to begin with. It's stretched out even more. Is that a good or bad thing? I don't really know exactly. There's part of me that really likes the director's cut where it dives into, you know, more of the minutia of the community and the certain people, which I like. But then there's other moments where it kind of goes a little too slow for my liking, and I like the theatrical cut more. I think both are unique experiences, but I like them both in unique and different ways. I say give this movie a chance, no matter if you're watching the theatrical cut or the director's cut here. Very fascinating movie that really just you just let yourself go, and it's an experience. That's for damn sure. I mean, you get introductions to the movie. You end up getting a bunch of really interesting stuff here, man, which is great. I mean, you end up getting a foreword by Martin Scorsese of all people. I mean, that guy loves this movie, man. He just was talking about cinema. He loves it. So it was forward by him. You know, certain featurettes here. I mean, it's a solid release, man. And give A24 a lot of credit, man. I mean, this is a clusterfuck of a movie, but it's so but yet it's so satisfying in a very weird way that it's hard to describe. But if you like movies that are a little bit more out there, like Wicker Man, then I think like almost like folk horror. If you like folk horror, this movie is down your alley. There's a lot of different horror lovers out there, and some people like certain things more than others. Folk horror, it stretches things out, it takes its time, but once the payoff happens, it really happens. And this is a really, really crazy, weird, wild movie, but so worth it. A24, you love your weirdness, and I gotta appreciate it. Ari Aster, you weird son of a bitch. Midsummer. And the next title that I picked up, guys, the Blu-ray digital Popeye the Sailor Man. Doot doot. Yes, I picked up Popeye, man. And let me tell you something. When this got announced, I had to pick it up. Okay, this was a no-brainer for me to pick up. I used to watch this movie back in the day on VHS. Okay, I couldn't believe that this thing was finally coming out, man. This is like one of those holy grail titles where I'm like, oh my god, man, I haven't seen this thing in ages. And I mean, come on, you got Shelley Duvall as Oliver, Robin Williams as Popeye. I just really love this movie, man. And you know, rewatching this movie is a blast from the past. I mean, truly. And I love it. You know, I used to watch Popeye, the animated stuff, the old school stuff back in the day. You know, it was kind of one of those things where you like the animated characters and the ridiculousness of it, but parents sort of liked it because, you know, Popeye eats spinach. And, you know, it was kind of something for kids to sort of like they eat their veggies or something, you know? You know, kind of sneak that one in there for the kiddies. But I just really liked sort of the translation from animation to live action. And I thought it worked pretty well, to be honest. And if you're going to get somebody to play Popeye, you have to have somebody that has a wild, out there personality. Somebody that can really take this fantastical character of Popeye and translate it into live form. And I think Robin Williams did that so perfectly. He just has the great persona for it to create this character with sort of the pipe and the eye thing and sort of the outfit and it's so great. And Shelley Duvall is amazing as Oliver, man. She was perfect casting, absolutely perfect casting indeed, man. This is such a really fantastic movie. I like the personas here. I like the adventures with the little baby and sort of the bad guy that's always trying to get Olive Oil to be with him. Like there's something about that's kind of cool, timeless stuff that I remember back when I was a kid. And I just think Popeye is really fun, man. It's just a fun little comedy adventure movie that I really truly appreciate. I can't say it's perfect, but at the same time, it's something that I think because I watched it when I was a kid, it really got to me and really and I really embraced it. And so I still love it to this day, man. And I got to admit, watching Robin Williams play this character and just the fun that he's having and the ridiculousness of everything and just Robin Williams embracing it all just makes me realize how much I really miss Robin Williams. I completely miss that dude. Man, it's movies like Popeye and a lot of other ones where I sit there and I say to myself, God, I wish this man was still around to this day. I wish that he was here and he could create more weird and bizarre characters and just make me laugh, man. I'm always gonna have movies like Popeye in the collection that reminds me how great Robin Williams is. And this is one of those underrated ones. I mean, look, when you think of Robin Williams, you don't think of Popeye, to be fair. You think of Patch Adams, or Mork and Mindy, or Aladdin, Good Will Hunting. You remember a lot of different movies that he's been in, but I don't think people necessarily remember Popeye. But that being said, Popeye is absolutely amazing and awesome and old school, and I love it so so much. The kid in me rewatching this loved it fantastically, man. I enjoyed the ride so many years later, and I just felt like a kid again. And this is so so great, man. You do get a few special features here. You get some stuff about the production. You get the Popeye premiere and a few other things here to sort of chew on. Not a lot of special features, but sort of enough to whet the appetite, I would say. But just the fact of having this movie on Blu-ray now, the fact that I hadn't seen it in a very, very long ass time, and when you pop something in after a long time and not having watched it, there's a sense of kind of fear because you think to yourself, "Oh my God, is this gonna hold up for me? Like I'm older now. I'm more jaded. I don't have that kid sensibility or imagination that I used to have, and that doesn't matter because I sat back and I watched this thing and I just felt like a kid again. And it's kind of weird because really, if you think about it, like we've never revisited Popeye again. I don't believe in live action form. Like this was the only, as far as I know, live action Popeye movie. Unless there's been others, but if there have been, they've been less prominent and not as really high profile as having somebody like Robin Williams in it. But I don't really want there to be another live action Popeye movie. You kind of perfected it pretty well with this, and Robin Williams was such perfect casting as Popeye that how could you really ever outdo that? I don't know if you ever could, and I don't ever really want to see it. So this will always be my preferred Popeye. Robin Williams killed it. Shelley Duvall killed it. It's just a really funny adventure movie that just gives you that great kid feeling the nostalgia again, and I just love it so so much. If you haven't dived into Robin Williams' Popeye goodness, what are you waiting for? Definitely do it. I don't think you're gonna be disappointed, especially if it brings back that kid nostalgia feeling. So good. Popeye. And the next title that I picked up, guys, is a Blu-ray edition from Scorpion Releasing, and that is none other than L.A. Bounty. Yes! Oh, with Sybil Danning. I love my Sybil. I so love my Sybil, guys. Oh man, man, so great. If back in the day I was my age and she was her age, I would totally go for Sybil. She would probably throw me around like a toothpick, but I'm so okay with that. Oh my god, I love you, Sybil. So, this movie, man, is about a former cop turned bounty hunter named Ruger, played by Sybil Danning. I just love it. She's named Ruger, and she's a bounty hunter. Oh, I'm even more in love. And she is going after this organization that killed her partner and kidnapped a candidate for mayor who is led by the organization, the criminal organization led by Wings Hauser. Wings Hauser, man, is another actor I really like, man. So, Sybil Danning versus Wings Hauser. How could I not pick this up, guys? Oh man, this is really good. I really like this. I love the movies where Sybil Danning plays this badass chick. Man, I love it. It's movies like this and Panther Squad that I really love, man. I just love her looking killer and holding the gun and taking out bad guys. There's something about that that's just simply wonderful and just makes me want her even more. Like, it's so great, man. I just think the action here, yes, the action is kind of cheesy and ridiculous and over the top, and yeah, there's like some acting which is a little stiff, but I do appreciate it for what it is, man. And I gotta say, Wings Hauser, man, Wings Hauser plays a very interesting bad guy, doesn't he? Because, you know, in this movie, he likes to paint naked women. Just this random character moment that he likes to art and do like fine painting art of naked chicks, just random ones that are just laying around like the building. Like, oh, just lay down. Let me paint you. And somebody comes in and is like, sir, we have a situation, and he's just painting. Hold on, 1 second. It's like his whole organization could go to shit, and he's like, hold on, I need to have the curvature just right. I'm like, it's so weird, man. It was the same thing in that movie Pale Blood, where he played the bad guy, where he liked to videotape naked women or something. It's so weird. The weird quirks of Wings Hauser when he plays the villains. Like, very odd, man, but something I kind of appreciate. The odd quirks of Wings Hauser, man. Just very odd, but yet kind of fascinating, man. Oh, man. Look, if you're going into this movie thinking it's like the best action movie of all time, then you're sadly mistaken. This is not, okay? It's cheesy, ridiculous, 80s style action. And yet I really enjoyed it because I just love seeing Sybil Danning look badass and look really hot doing it. So why not give it a chance, man? And it delivered. For what it's worth, it definitely delivered, man. And I gotta give Scorpion Releasing a lot of credit because, I'm always out there finding very interesting Sybil Danning movies. Of course, you start with Howling 2 because you gotta start with Howling 2 because, I mean, come on. Hello, that pretty much makes the movie all the more worth it. And then you just go down the line, Panther Squad, and so many other movies that she's done. And I hadn't really heard of LA Bounty, but when I saw they were putting it out, and I'm like, Sybil? How can I resist? Like, I had to. And it paid off in dividends, man. I'm very happy with my pickup. And more Sybil Danning in the collection? How can that ever be a bad thing, guys? It definitely can. Oh, so enjoyed it. More Sybil Danning love. Good to me. Give it a shot if you're a lover of Sybil Danning and odd Wings Hauser quirks. LA Bounty. And the next pickup that I got, guys, cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war. Yes! Oh, baby! Some more scorpion releasing love. The dogs of war. With my man Christopher Walken, baby. With the really great slip there with the really great artwork. Look at that. Nice, man. And on the inside, the original art. Oh, look at that. So good. I like the red there. Very, very sweet, man. Now, this movie is basically about soldier for hire Christopher Walken and his team, and they go in and they want to change the balance of power in this African, establishment. And all the while, there is this sort of internal conflict that's going on. Is this really the right thing to do? Is it not? And all the complications, the struggles, and the war that comes from that. This is a really, really solid movie, man. This is a really great war film. When people talk about war films, obviously there's a lot of great ones that come to mind. Saving Private Ryan, Platoon, Hamburger Hill, and a whole host of other ones, man. And I could see why. They're popular. They're popular war films, and I completely understand. They're great films. Dogs of War is one of these ones that is kind of underrated, dare I say. I love the acting here. Christopher Walken is amazing. Tom Berenger is fantastic here as well. Jo Beth Williams from Poltergeist is great here as well. And I love the idea because this actually, crazy enough, actually really happens. Is these soldiers for hire mercenaries come into this area to basically liberate an establishment, a place, and the balance of power changes because of that. This actually happens. And I just really think it's a very powerful story. I think it's a really great war movie, and it's a war movie that really shows the sacrifices of war, the struggles of war, the dilemmas, and also the pain and the suffering of it. And I really like that. The idea that, yes, you're making money off of this, but the sacrifice, is it really worth it? And I just really love this, man. I think Christopher Walken is amazing here. And Christopher Walken, man, if nowadays we kind of joke about Christopher Walken a little bit, but think back about Christopher Walken for a second. I mean, really think back because he was doing some really great stuff. Heaven's Gate, The Deer Hunter, King of New York, this movie and a lot of other stuff. I mean, he was a powerhouse actor, man. You would have back in the day put him up there with the De Niros, with the Pacinos, and a lot of those other really great actors, man. I mean, when he took on a role, he took on a fucking role, man. And this was great, man. I just really love this. I love the brutality of the war sequences. I love the destruction. I love the drama with him and the soldiers and the dictatorships and the struggles of power. There's so much really great stuff to dive into with this movie, and I kind of feel like not many people really know about the Dogs of War. I don't think they really do. It's an old school movie to be sure, but it's a movie that's kind of gotten drowned out by other films that are more popular, that have been praised a lot more. And those movies, as I said, are fantastic. Those war movies are absolutely amazing, and they deserve all the love that they get. But if you've gone through all the really popular stuff, start trying the more underrated ones. The ones that kind of slip a little bit under the radar, just a little bit. And I think The Dogs of War is one of the better ones in that category. I really honestly do, man. I think Dogs of War is absolutely fantastic, and I'm so glad that Scorpion Releasing put out a really great edition. I mean, the slip is awesome, the artwork inside is great, and you also get a bunch of interviews with people that were behind the movie, co-writers, co-stars, assistant directors, production designers, costume designers, and more. You also get trailers to it too, and they talk about the struggle of making the movie, and obviously the story and working with the actors and what they tried to accomplish with it. Some great interviews, man. Some really good stuff here, and the movie itself is awesome. I love war movies. I'm a big war movie fan. I can't say I love all war movies, but the ones that hit really do hit, and The Dogs of War is one of them. And I hadn't seen it in a long time, and revisiting it just confirmed my suspicions from a long time ago that it was one of the really great ones, and it still is. It definitely gives us a chance. If you're a fan of war movies, if you're a fan of Walken, I mean, come on, who isn't a fan of Christopher Walken? Isn't that obvious? Definitely give it a look, man. Really, really great war film that definitely deserves more love. The Dogs of War. And the next title that I picked up, guys, we're switching gears to Dark Force Entertainment with the next pickup, and that is none other than The Banker. Yes! A little Robert Forster love. Yes, indeed, man. Now, I've been wanting to pick this up for a while, to be fair, and when Dark Force put out a Facebook post basically saying, hey, look, the last of our slipcover editions are going to be going on sale, and this is the last time you're going to be able to get them, I was like, if I don't get this now, I kind of did want the slip, so I'm gonna pull the trigger on it. Now, the wonderful slip here with the Robert Forster on the cover, very, very nice. If you can't buy it, he just takes it. Very nice. I like that. And on the inside, the same artwork as well. I was hoping for different artwork, but this is Dark Force, so I had to settle. So, yes, but still, I wanted some more Robert Forster love. Now, this movie is from 1989 crime thriller, and basically it's about this cop played by Robert Forster who is hunting down this killer of prostitutes played by Duncan Regehr. Now, if you guys don't know Duncan Regehr, well, if you're any kind of movie lover, you kind of should know it a little bit. He was in the Monster Squad. He played Dracula. He was awesome as Dracula. And I really like him here, man. He's menacing, and he's somebody that like at the beginning of the movie, I really love it where like he's with this woman and it's very sensual and he's making love to her and she's just really enjoying it, and then look, he's had his pleasure. Dead. I love it, but it's not just a simple like shooting thing. Oh no. He's a little bit more creative than that, ladies and gentlemen. But I really love it. I love that he's just menacing, but yet he's very charming at the same time. I think Duncan Regehr does a really great job here. I think Robert Forster does as well. Robert Forster is kind of interesting here because he kind of plays that sarcastic, sort of, I'm sort of too old for this shit cop. That sort of you would see somebody like Danny Glover playing in Lethal Weapon, but, he's this guy's a little bit more drunker. He's a little bit more drunker, a little bit more ridiculous, but he still gets the job done, man. And I like Robert Forster here. I really do. In fact, I like all the actors here pretty much, man. I mean, you even have Richard Roundtree in this motherfucker, man. He played Robert Forster's boss, sort of the police captain, and I just love that, man. I mean, he's great in the role. I think the action and everything here is very 80s. I mean, right down to the soundtrack and the look of the movie. It's just got 80s written all over it, man. I mean, you could clearly see that, like, Miami Vice influenced this thing in a big bad way, man. I mean, you could easily tell, dude. But it is fun. It's cheesy, and it's ridiculous, and, kind of over the top at times. It's not the best sort of cop crime thriller from the 80s. I mean, it definitely doesn't hold a candle to Lethal Weapon or anything. But it's like a tier or two down but it's still good. I really like it. And Robert Forster, man, what a really great actor, man, and great screen presence. I mean, even in a role that's kind of ridiculous and cheesy like this, he still brings it, and I do appreciate that, man. It's not a bad little yarn. The chicks are sexy. You get a great, menacing, intimidating villain in Duncan Regeer, and you get some great screen presence from Robert Forster. I mean, what are you really asking for? I mean, put it that way, man. And you get a well, actually, a couple of special features. You get some Dark Force trailers. You also get Robert Forster in interview remembering Joe Spinell. Now, unfortunately, he had already passed away by the time this movie came out on Blu-ray, and it really is unfortunate. I would have loved to have seen him maybe talk about the movie a little bit. It is a shame, but at the same time, I'm glad we at least get one vintage interview from him. You know what? I got to admit, not every crime thriller movie or cop drama from the 80s is created equal. Okay, let's be real here. Some are not as good as others. And I'm not saying The Banker is really great, nor am I saying it's really terrible. It's average. But you want to know what, man? I'll take that. And I really will take it, because I think that you get a really cool villain turn with Duncan Regeer. You get some great one-liners and cop action with Robert Forster. It's decent. And you want to know what? Sometimes a decent 80s action thriller cop drama is still better than a lot of the crap that comes out nowadays. Do you want to know what? I'll take it. And a little Dark Force love never hurt nobody. It'll be an interesting one in the collection, put it that way. The Banker. And the next pickup that I got, guys, is more Dark Force love. And that is none other than Terror Express. Oh, oh boy. Okay, so I wanted The Banker, to be fair. And so I thought, what else might I be interested in? Picked up Terror Express. Now, I didn't really know what Terror Express was. I had seen some clips on YouTube, looked kind of interesting to me, so I gave it a chance. Gave it a gamble, why not? Basically what this is about, this is an Italian-made film, okay? And it's about some of these depraved, punk type of people that decide to, on this train ride, take over a couple of cars within this train and basically ruin everybody's lives. Steal from them, beat them, rape and depravity. Put it that way, man. Wow. Now, I was watching this movie with Bob. Bob came over and he was like, hey, I'm going to take the day off of work. How about I come over and we'll just chill out for the day? Great, wonderful. Let's watch some movies. Why not Rape and Depravity? Sure. oh, God. Look, this movie is from the 70s. And you gotta understand that when talking about this movie specifically, because in the 70s it was such an interesting time for cinema. You had sort of The Last House on the Left of the world, and you had a lot of other different 70s grindhouse horror that was going on at that point that was pushing boundaries. And I think the Italians sort of took that was coming from America and decided, well, if it's popular there, might as well try it here. And that's what they went for. Man, I gotta admit, this is a very interesting movie. I actually did enjoy it. It's got some weird, quirky characters. I mean, basically, the people on this train, these cars that these depraved punks ended up actually taking over, I mean, some of them are really nice honest people, other people are criminals, there's other people that are prostitutes, some that are basically on this car just to get laid with the prostitutes, teenage girls that are, looking at the depraved punks kind of like they're pieces of meat, and you're kind of like, oh God, don't, please don't give them an excuse. Like, I'm like, oh Lord. And I'm just watching this movie with Bob, and just the more depravity and the more sickening stuff is going on, and we're like, oh Jesus God, what else is gonna happen in this movie? And it's like, okay, there's, these two people, this prostitute and this really old dude are having consensual sex. He pays her money. Okay, fine. Not like I wanted to see it, but whatever. And then you're like, oh, then the punks take over, and then they're forcibly raping this chick, and you're like, oh God. Oh Jesus! And then it's like, oh well, the other punk comes in while they're having sex, and he's joining in and forcibly. Oh God, Jesus! What else can go on here? And now they're beating the shit out of these people and stabbing them and spitting on them, and oh Jesus fucking hell. And then what else can go on? And then it's like then it's like the teenage girl, and it's like, oh God, no, no, man. And it's just like one level after another. Like, you thought that it couldn't get more depraved, and then it got more depraved, and then you're thinking, wait a minute, it can't possibly get any more depravity and fucked upness. It can. And the movie's like, hold my beer. And it's like, fuck. Like, Jesus, man. And Bob and I are just watching this like, wow. I didn't think it'd go there. Like, it's Jesus, man. I mean, I gotta give it to the Italians. Give it up to the Italians, because they say, oh, whatever the Americans do, we can do better. And apparently they wanted to prove themselves. And Dare Express is the product of it. Look, I do not approve of rape. I don't approve of the depravity, whatever. But I gotta be honest with you guys, when it comes to horror, there is a lot of this type of stuff within the horror genre. I mean, whether we are talking about Last House on the Left, I Spit on Your Grave, The Hills Have Eyes, more modernish stuff like Irreversible, for instance, it's all over the place, man. You can't really escape it, especially if you're a horror movie lover. It's it's just part of the vernacular, man. I hate to say it, dude, but it is. And you also have to remember, in the 70s, like, it was all about shock, right? It was shock, and that's what it was, man. And you had a lot of these filmmakers, especially the overseas ones, that saw what America was doing and said, oh, the shock value, and people are really, really gravitating towards that. But it was much more than the shock value. It was actually interesting storylines and filmmaking and characters. But the Italians only saw one thing, and they took it and ran with it. And Terror Express was an example of it. I'm not saying it's a really great movie, but I actually had a decent time with it. I like some of the quirky characters. I like the idea that these people are fighting for survival against these punks that just want to cause mayhem. There's something about that I kind of appreciate to a certain degree, minus some of the crazy depravity. But yeah, look, there are a lot of movies like Terror Express out there in the world, especially back in the day when it was just like a factory. You're just making these things, like spitting them out like crazy, man. And, you remember the popular ones, the ones that were the classics, like, again, Last House on the Left, Hills Have Eyes, I Spit on Your Grave, all those ones that still stand the test of time. And then you see the copycats, like Terror Express, and you're like, ooh, they tried to emulate it. Tried. Look, it is what it is. I did enjoy it. I don't know if it's going to be a revisit a lot, but for what it was, and I was expecting far worse. Terror Express, as far as sort of like the lower level uh, copycats are concerned, well, there is far worse. Put it that way. Ah, boy. Hey, you do get a featurette, actually a couple of interviews with cast members talking about the movie, and look, they're honest about it. They talk about, making the movie, obviously, the Italian language stuff, you name it. Very interesting stuff, and also talking to the screenwriter as well, original trailer. It is what it is, man. This is a genre unto itself, and thankfully that genre has kind of died down quite a lot. You don't really see much in the way anymore of movies like Terror Express really being made in today's society. And truth be told, maybe that's a good thing. Just saying. I mean, we'll always have these movies, they'll always be in existence, but maybe it's time to put it to rest. Probably a good thing, put it that way. But as far as copycats, it ain't half bad. But damn, the depravity. Terror Express. And the next pickup that I got, guys, is the last of the Dark Force Love, and that is none other than Evil in the Deep, which is also known as the Treasure of Jamaican Reef. There you go. Two different names, but still the same boring movie. Let's dive into it, guys. Basically, this movie is about the search for this long-lost Spanish treasure that sank with the ship long time ago, and it's basically them wanting to try to get the actual treasure and the complications of it, and who can you trust, that type of stuff, right? I gotta tell you, this movie is a bore. And I'm being honest. I'm being real with you guys. This movie's a bore. Now, it's interesting because this movie, from what I found out, and yes, it is obscure, but it came out in 1974. Now, it was a harmless, searching for treasure movie, and then it actually got re-released years later to Evil in the Deep to capitalize on the actual shark craze and everything that was going on because of Jaws. So the producers and everything decided to add more R-rated, gory bits to it and then re-release it. This has happened many times before, but because it was such a new thing and this summer blockbuster thing with Jaws happened, a lot of movies like this one, Treasure of the Jamaica Reef, ended up saying, oh, yeah, it didn't get a lot of love, didn't make a lot of money, but if we repackage it, put some extra gory bits and things in there to sort of entice them to come in, we can capitalize on the success of Jaws. However, just because you try to capitalize on it doesn't mean that you're going to be successful, and a knockoff is still a knockoff, regardless of what you put in it. And to be fair, there is some good actors in here. I mean, there is Cheryl Ladd, who at the time was actually very unknown. She's absolutely gorgeous here. You also have David Ladd, and you have Chuck Woolery. Yes, the Chuck Woolery. You know, that game show host? Yeah, the Chuck Woolery. And which was so odd to see him in this movie. But yeah, the acting's okay at best. The movie is just a fucking bore. And that's the honest to God truth. Literally, yes, some of it is beautiful to look at, with the underwater scenery, but the movie just is not paced right. And I think that's the problem that I have. It's not paced in the right way. it just keeps on dragging, and there's not a lot of excitement. And like they underwater, and they're searching underwater, and they go back up to the boat, and there's a little discussion of drama, this and that, and then they go back, and there's no like excitement to really reel you in. And even the extra added bits really aren't that great to begin with, anyways. And you could really tell that they were inserted afterwards. So it's obvious. I mean, this movie's a bore fest, and there's not much else to it. I'm gonna be real. I mean, you can make some really great underwater movies that capitalize on the Jaws craze, like a movie like The Deep, which is actually really good, man. With Nick Nolte, fantastic movie. It's a little long, but here's the thing though, guys. It's a little long, but it maintains the excitement. There's chase sequences and there's thrilling moments and there's a great mystery of finding the treasure and what's exactly underneath there and will the bad guys get it and when will the heroes prevail? There's a certain amount of tension and excitement that gets you going and keeps you moving within the plot. This does none of that, man. My God, it is just boring. And I just sat there just like... that's what I did. The entire fucking movie, man. And I wanted to like it. Because I love Jaws. And yes, a lot of the Jaws ripoffs are not that good. But there is a few that actually are, to be fair. And I thought, oh, one that sort of came out earlier, but yet recut later to capitalize on it. Curious as to how it is. And yeah, it's just a goddamn bore. It's a goddamn bore, man. I mean, look, I loved The Banker. Terror Express is what it is, but hey, I did kind of enjoy it. But this one, I mean, there's just no excitement here. The tension is not really much there. It's just boring. Boring. And it really sucked. I kind of regret my purchase. It was a blind buy, but I decided, what the hell? I will tell you guys, it's not going in the collection. That's for damn sure. I'll sell it on eBay or whatnot, Facebook Marketplace, try to get my money back somehow, some way, but unfortunately, not every Jaws ripoff is created equal, and Evil in the Deep definitely proves it. Rips your nerves to shreds. Yeah, right. I will say this much, though, guys. Okay, you do get a couple of interesting interviews. You get the camera operator. You get the original press book, which is kind of cool. You get extra scenes, featurette. You get a couple of interesting stuff here to kind of satisfy you as a physical media lover, the extra added bonus features. But if the movie is shit, the movie is shit. And there's no really getting over that. I don't care how many extras you put in the damn thing. If it's boring, it's boring, and that's what it is. So, if you like Jaws ripoffs, fair. I kind of agree with you. But this one... Evil in the Deep. And the next title that I picked up, guys, we are now in Vinegar Syndrome love, baby. I put in a Black Friday order, quite a plentiful Black Friday order, and man, oh man, did I pick up some good stuff, man. So let's dive into this awesome Vin Sin Black Friday goodness with the first disc in that wonderful package, and that is none other than Silent Madness in 3D. Glorious 3D, baby. And look at that. What a great slip, man. I love that. So good. And on the backside, he's out now. The terror has just begun. I like that. And on the inside, I really love this artwork with the deep red in his face. That's really nice, dude. But that is not all. Because since it's in 3D, well, you need 3D glasses now, don't you? You definitely get them, baby. I love these 3D glasses because on the back, look at this. Yeah. That's pretty cool, man. Nah, damn right, man. Old school 3D glasses. Nice. Very, very nice, man. Now, I had never heard of this movie, to be fair. I had never heard of Silent Madness, but I looked up the trailer and I was like, it looks interesting. I'm going to give it a chance, man. Basically, what this is about is through some sort of error that happens in this mental hospital, this insane patient, evil patient that has went on a killing spree before is now out and is starting to terrorize people and go on a killing spree again. And it's basically this female doctor that is on the hunt for him and try to stop him before it's too late. Does it sound a little familiar to you guys? Because it might. Sounds a lot like Halloween, doesn't it? Yeah. It takes a lot of cue from Michael Myers, dare I say. But that's not a bad thing. I mean, you always steal from the best, truth be told. So, why not, man? I mean, this movie is pretty cool. I really actually do think it. After watching it, yes, it is one of those slasher copycat movies, but at the same time, let's be honest, some of those slasher copycats are pretty good, and Silent Madness is one of the better ones. I actually really like the killer here, and you know who the killer is right off the bat. You see their face, you know who they are. It's not a mystery, they're not trying to go for that or anything like that. They're just going for a maniac on the loose, killing, dumb people, horny people, people who are bad that deserve it. You know the slasher formula. You know how it goes. Silent Madness does all of it, man. And like I said, I love the brutal kills here. I love the kills are very, again, Jason Michael-esque. Very, very, very much. It's in that same vein, but I think really, really effective. And I like the plot of this female doctor who is not really respected among her colleagues because she wants to tell the truth. She wants to catch this guy. There was an error. We made a mistake. No, we didn't make a mistake, and they're trying to cover it up. And these other hospital guards that are helping out the other doctors want to silence her, and I like that plot line of her going out of her way to try to stop this guy because nobody else will. I like that. And it's a very interesting sort of survivor girl aspect against this guy, which is really cool, man. And I like the idea of going to this college, and it's this college where this guy ended up killing before, and he's coming back again, and these beautiful, horny looking chicks getting killed in brutal ways. Of course, sound familiar? Yes, it does. Again, because it takes all these sort of horror tropes and puts it into its own movie. But again, I really did enjoy it. And the 3D aspect is pretty cool, man. Reminded me very much of something like Friday the 13th Part 3. It definitely did, man. And this was really the resurgence of the 3D craze, wasn't it? Amityville 3D, obviously Friday the 13th, and so many other ones that did it. And this was sort of just jumping on the bandwagon. But I kind of like that, things in your face, coming at you, and it's just kind of that old school cheesy 3D stuff, which it kind of warms my heart a little bit. So I definitely did enjoy it, man. I got to admit that this is one of these movies that I can understand why it's not really well known. I don't think it's ever really been put on disc before. I don't think it ever has. It's one of those movies that has definitely been under the radar and underappreciated and almost kind of buried in a lot of ways. So I think a lot of people are just starting to find this movie now, especially me. So as somebody who's a slasher fan, when I heard about this, I was not sure about it, but I gave it a chance because I'm such a fan of slasher movies in general. And this movie definitely whet the appetite. That is for damn sure, man. Actually, really fun of a slasher movie. Not well known, but very fun. I think Vinegar Syndrome gave it a lot of love. Of course, the 3D aspect with the glasses is really cool. You also get a commentary here with Hysteria Continues, and of course, those guys. Let's be real. They love joking on the movie, but yet giving you some great information at the same time. A great commentary. You also get interviews with some of the cast and crew. You get deleted interviews from a featurette from a long time ago. A promotional 3D sizzle reel, which is really great. Really great stuff. Kind of like selling the 3D stuff. You also get multiple radio spots, behind the scenes still gallery, promotional material, and so much more, man. Really great old school 80s slasher movie that I think owes a lot to the Jasons and the Michaels and the Freddys and Black Christmas and all of that stuff. And yes, it is a copycat, but throw that out the window for a second, right? Because let's be honest, a lot of slasher movies out there from the 80s or the 90s or the 2000s, 2010s, you name it. They all owe one thing or another to all those movies back in the day. The Psychos, the Black Christmases, the Halloweens, Friday the 13th, you name it. They all owe something to those movies. So all of them, in one way or another, is a copycat to a certain extent. So don't hate on this movie because of it being a copycat, so to speak. Embrace the fact that it's really taken a lot of these cool, yes, predictable horror tropes, but sort of cool ones in the slasher genre, and making its own unique movie. Cheesy and ridiculous, yes, but fun. And with really interesting characters and a cool, interesting plot that I really enjoyed, man. I really did. This was a surprise to me, but a real winner for sure. And Vincent, well, as usual, they always give it the great love that it easily deserves. A forgotten cult classic? Possibly. But it's one definitely worth diving into if you're a slasher lover. Not half bad, man. The killer's on the loose, the women are screaming, and I'm loving it. Silent Madness. And the next piece of Vincent love is Malibu High. Malibu High. Yes, indeed, baby. The really nice, very simplistic slip. Not bad. On the backside, her teachers wanted to flunk her, but nobody dared. Oh, indeed. And on the inside, well, I can see why nobody wanted to flunk her. Oh, okay. So, here I am during the sale, and I'm sort of looking around on Vincent's website. I'm thinking to myself, what kind of interests me? And then I saw Malibu High, and I'm like, wait a minute. This kind of looks interesting. I wonder about this one. So I was kind of looking up the trailer, and it kind of looked a little fascinating to me, so I said, why not, man? So, let's introduce you to Kim, shall we? Now, Kim, she's having a rough time, guys. I mean, she's this high school senior, and her grades are not doing so well. Her boyfriend dumped her for the snobbish rich girl, and she's just having issues at home with her mother, and her confidence is low. She's just having a bad time, guys. So what does she do to turn it around, right? Well, she decides that the key to everything is my body. I could use my body to my advantage. Ding! And that's what she does, guys. She ends up basically sleeping with the teachers, blackmailing them, deciding that, well, hey, if I want this, if I want that, how about I use my body even more and be a small-time prostitute and, work for the small-time pimp and go from there. And I gotta tell you, this movie was a really interesting experience. I actually really did enjoy this movie, but, seeing the synopsis, I was like, oh man, where is this one going? And it goes to some wild places. I mean, she decides, hey, look, I want to get my grades up. I don't really want to do the work, so why not blackmail the teachers for sex? I mean, she goes to these teachers, and she's like, hey, meet me at this, beach bluff area, whatever. And they're like, oh, young lady, that's blackmail. I don't want to go. And then, she has her boobs, and she's like, well, I'll either see ya or I won't. And so she just waits there. And lo and behold, the teachers show up, man. The teachers one by one. And she's like, well, I knew you'd show up. So, and so and so she's having sex with him, and then she's blackmailing him, and then she's like, well, I'm not giving you these grades just because I slept with you. And she's like, well, I'll tell your wife, and I'll tell the principal. And you're like, oh, fine, here's the A. And so she's blackmailing him like that. And then you have this really creepy pimp that always wanted to recruit her, and she takes that to her advantage by being this small time prostitute and making money off of that. And she's doing so well, guys, that this bigger pimp, he gets sort of like alerted to, oh, she's doing a great job, she's bringing in the profits, like we need to bring her in. And so he obviously steals that dude's client, brings her in, he falls in love with her. And then it even gets more complicated, guys, because this guy has enemies, or other associates who have enemies. And he says, well, how about, obviously you want to get ahead, you want to make more money. How about you kill these people for me and for my associates, and baby, it'll be all good. We'll pin it on these other people. You'll never go to jail. It's fine. Like, I gotta kill people? Yeah, but bang bang, you shoot them, whatever, we'll clean up the mess, it'll be all good. And so she's now sort of a gun for hire. She's not only blackmailing her teachers for grades, she's now become a small slash big time prostitute, having a relationship with her pimp, and also killing for her pimp as a gun for hire. Wow, like that just was like, okay, is there any more here? Like, even more cherry on top? Like, it's just one thing after another, man. And then sort of towards the end of the movie, she's like in bed with the pimp and everything. And she's like, oh, this has been a really amazing like 2 to 3 weeks. Wait, what? This has all happened in like a month time period? What? Like, holy shit! Like, she is having a way more interesting month than most months that I ever have. But then again, I don't kill people, and I don't prostitute my body. Maybe I should though. I mean, hey, if she can do it. Oh man, no. So, oh man, this one is a wild movie, man. But it was really fun, and it just kept going down the most ridiculous and crazy end that you could have possibly ever imagined. But it was so ridiculous and over the top that you just couldn't help but love it, man. And this chick, God bless her, because at some points she's really smart, and at other points she's incredibly naive. And oh, okay, well, my boyfriend tells me to kill people. He says it's gonna be okay. Why not? And it gets her in the end. I won't say how it does, but it is kind of fun. And what's even more wild about this movie is that towards the end of the movie, there's this chase scene, right? And I was noticing something about the music. I was listening to it, I'm like, oh my god, that music is incredibly familiar. How the hell do I know that fucking music, man? And I just was thinking about it, and I'm thinking, oh my god, it's the People's Court. Like, literally, I kid you not, guys. The same music that is on People's Court is in Malibu High. I kid you not. So literally, People's Court stole it from Malibu High. Holy shit! I was so shocked by that, man. I was like, oh my god, slightly altered, but it is definitely the People's Court theme. Wow, I was like, that's crazy, man. I gotta tell you, the acting is cheesy and ridiculous. The the whole plot is so over the top, man. But there's something about its 70s charm that I can't deny, right? Because you so can't make this movie nowadays. I mean, truth be told, you cannot make a movie like this now. There is no way in fucking hell that a movie like this ever gets made again. But I think that's part of the movie's charm in a lot of ways. I really do. And it's a wild story with cheesy, ridiculous acting. But there's something about the time period and the fact that this even got made and how ridiculous it is that is part of the overall charm of the movie that I absolutely adore. So I did like this one. Crazy as it was, but I loved going down that rabbit hole. I really did, guys. I thought it was wild, man. But Vincent, as usual, definitely gives it the love that it deserves, man, and rightfully so, dare I say. I mean, you get an audio commentary here, you get a bunch of interviews and featurettes, you get still galleries and original theatrical trailer. I mean, all of the interviews and the commentaries are fascinating. Just talking about this movie and the intentions of the movie and the time that they were making it in, and versus now and how you could like not make this stuff. I mean, great stuff in here for the supplemental material, man. But I just find movies like this fascinating because like I just look at like how it was so long back in the day versus now, and how like it's almost like an alternate fucking reality, man. But that's sort of why I love a movie like this, because you could literally show this to somebody and they'll be like, "Huh?" And I'll be like, "I know, right?" Like she's prostituting, and then she's sleeping with the teachers, and then she kills her fucking principal by basically like shoving her cleavage in his face, and you're like, what the fuck? You're like, what the hell? It's ridiculous, it's crazy, it's cheesy, it's over the top, but God bless its heart, I love this movie, man. God, this is one weird, crazy romp, but fuck it, I loved it, dude. Jesus. Man, I wish they all could be like Malibu High. How crazy would that be? Damn. Give this weird high school drama revenge tale a spin. You won't regret it. Malibu High. And even more Vince in love with the next pickup, and that is none other than Nightmare Sisters. Yes! Look at this! Oh, man. Woo! I take a piece of that. Oh! But I may regret it, guys. Oh, baby. Very, very nice. And on the backside. Oh. Huh. From zeros to hotties. Dare I say, baby, but the cost might make men want to rethink twice. That's for damn sure, guys. And on the inside, the interesting artwork there, not half bad, man. Not half bad at all. So let's dive into a little Nightmare Sisters love. So I had kind of heard about this movie before. I had known that it existed, but I didn't really know much about the movie itself. And I decided to take a gamble on it with the slip. I figured, hey, why not, man? And, man, I'm so glad I did. So, basically, it's about these three college students, these three female college students who, they're a little too nerdy, and they're not the most attractive ladies of all time, and they decide to invite some of these boys over, and these boys are not the most thrilled about wanting to come over, but there's maybe a promise of getting laid, right? And if they can get laid, hey, maybe it's worth it. So they go over, and these chicks are like, God bless them, man. They would make the Omega moves from Revenge of the Nerds blush. I mean, seriously, man. And so they're like, we're so happy that you're here. Yeah, we're like so happy. Like, oh, hopefully we get laid. Oh boy. And so they're playing with this Ouija board, and some of them are a little hesitant, but they're like, well, we came here for fun, didn't we? I mean, we want to do this, so they go ahead and do it, and something happens to the three dorky college chicks. In an instant, they turn hot, and I mean smoking hot, baby. They turn like, wow, like, what happened to them, man? Like, they turn from the Omega Moves to the Charlie's Angels chicks, and you're like, what the fuck just happened? And you're like, wow, this is crazy. And the guys are like, oh, and then some are like, hold on a second, this is kind of weird. What just happened? And what actually happened, guys, is that there was this sort of succubus that came into all three of them, and basically it lures men who are very sexual and horny to their doom, and basically like takes their souls. And they're using the females in order to accomplish the succubus goal. And I loved every second of this movie. You have to remember the three chicks here, right? Michelle Bauer, okay? Michelle Bauer, Brink Stevens, and Linnea Quigley, okay? These were some of the hottest chicks from this time period in the 80s. They were the most hottest chicks ever, man. And they did their best to kind of make them nerdy and sort of ugly, but yet you're still like, I still go for that. Like you're like I know you were trying, but you so didn't succeed that well. But I appreciate the effort. But I love how they played with sort of the dorky mentality of it, but yet when they're hot, sort of play into like, oh, they're really hot, and like these dorky guys who are from this fraternity, like the more popular guys, sort of see the hot chicks and they're like, we're not gonna let the dorky guys sleep with the hot chicks. I mean, they're for us, right? Because we're like the men, we're the college fraternity men. So there's like this whole like hijinks of like stealing them and bounding and gagging them and putting them in the shed and then sleeping with the hot chicks, right? However, because they're succubuses, the way they basically get the guy's soul is they basically go down on them, okay? Like they go down on their Johnsons, okay? So like they'll sort of be kissing them and rubbing them and showing their all the goods, and then suddenly like the guys are like, oh, this is so good, and then the woman sort of comes up and is like, and then the guy's like, and I was like I'm like, oh, like, you know what? I have a certain appreciation for my Johnson. Okay. I've lived with it for this long. It's kind of attached to me, guys. So I don't want that. I don't want those teeth going anywhere near my nether regions. No. Stay away. Far away. Oh my god, man. But I found it great. I found it hilarious. I found it funny, and I love these three chicks that are playing on their hotness in that sort of like wink and nod way of, yeah, we know we're hot and we're playing it, for laughs, and I like that. I think that's really fun, and I like sort of how they're able to make fun of themselves and how they're able to not take it so seriously, being sex symbols. I like that. I think it's really, really fun of a movie. I think it's hilarious. I think it's a fun romp, and I think there's some really great moments for all of these actors, especially the three main leads here, to really sink their teeth into some really fun and very iconic 80s material. I mean, these chicks have all done some really great stuff, right? They're already known for really iconic films. But this one, it might sort of go a little under the radar, but that doesn't really matter because it's still so fun. And I think people should definitely give this one more of a look. Maybe it's not as popular as, A Return of the Living Dead, or maybe Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers. But I think it's just as equally fun and entertaining, and it's just a breeze of an hour and a half that just flies by, man. I mean, I was watching this one. I was watching it with Bob, and we had a blast with this movie, guys. We really did. We were watching this movie, and I mean, it doesn't hurt that the main ladies get naked a little bit. You get to see a little skin. It's nice to check out the gorgeousness of these women, but also just having fun with these ladies and the personas and how they're laughing at the situation, and you kind of laugh with them, and the ridiculousness of it and the cheesiness. I mean, it's cheesy effects. It's cheesy old school 80s stuff. The makeup and the special effects is the sort of like CGI-ish, but it's all in service of a really fun movie, ridiculous, cheesy as it may be. It's just incredibly entertaining, and I loved every single second of it, man. I really did, man. And Vincent, boy, with the slipcover, gave it a lot of love, and the features too. I mean, you get a commentary with the director, David Dakota. By the way, David Dakota, he's an interesting character in and of himself. I mean, he's done some really weird movies, man. I can't say that I've loved all of his movies, because there's some real trash in there, but I think Nightmare Sisters is actually one of his best movies that he's ever done. Seriously, it's really great, man. You get director introduction, the alternate feature-length TV version, more interviews with the writer-producer, and bloopers, outtakes, so some really good stuff here. But I kind of wanted to touch on real quick the alternate TV version. So, in a lot of ways, a lot of people found this movie because of USA Up All Night. Now, if you were the one of the people that saw it on USA Up All Night, you'll notice that there's a really big difference between the original film and the alternate TV version, and that main difference is lack of nudity. There is no nudity in it all because, again, you're having to show it on TV. Yes, late at night, but it's still TV and TV standards. So they had to reshoot all of the scenes that had any nudity or anything that suggested it. They had to reshoot it, and they reshot it years after the movie was made. So it's slightly different sets. It's the actresses like Linnea Quigley and Brinke Stevens and all of them look slightly different, not exactly the same. They're slightly older. You can kind of tell. It doesn't really work 110%. I definitely would go more with the nudity version than I would the theatrical TV version, but there's something about it that I really do love cheesiness to it, and they made it that way because people could be able to see it on USA Up All Night and it could get more exposure. Yeah, it kind of sucks that they had to get rid of all the stuff that they did, but yet at the same time, I appreciate the fact that more people found it because of that. So, if you found it because of the lack of nudity version, which is still fun, not nearly as good, the theatrical main edition is the best of them all. But hey, it's kind of cool to have it as a nice special feature, man. And, seeing the scenes, they don't always work, but it's still fun. And I cheesy as it may be, man, this is fun. This is really, really fun, guys. Nightmare Sisters was amazing, and God, I feel so ashamed that I had never heard of it before now. Like, seriously, I love Linnea Quigley and Brink Stevens and Michelle Bauer. They're gorgeous, fun actresses. And here they get to shine so well, man. What a great trio of ladies. I wish they did more movies together. This was so fun, man. Ah, such a really great, entertaining, wild 80s movie about, dorky chicks turned into succubuses. And I loved every single second of it. So, so fun, guys. So, so fun. Highly, highly recommended. But a word of caution. Just understand that they go for the Johnson. And if you love your Johnson, it might get traumatized. And the next title, more Vinegar Syndrome love, guys. And that is none other than Fade to Black. Yes, look at this, man. What a really great slip. Now, during the Black Friday sale, they had two different slips on sale. This one and the one with the original art attached to it. I picked this one. I liked the difference. I really like sort of the woman there in terror with the cool little posters in there. I like that. I thought it was a cool image and I really enjoyed, man. On the back side, you get our boy, the creepy movie lover right there. Very nice, half regular face, half vampire face. Very nice. I like that. And then the original Fade to Black art right there. I love it. Eric Binford lives for the movies. Sometimes he kills for them too. Yes, indeed he does, baby. Let's get into this one. Now, I have never seen Fade to Black, which is kind of weird considering that this is a very well-known movie, or in certain circles well-known. But I had never seen it before, but I knew of it. And so when Vinegar Syndrome announced this title, I knew I had to pick it up. It was an instant buy. Knew I was going to get it, man. And I'm really glad I did. And basically what this movie's about, it is about Eric, who he really does live for movies. It's his way of escaping reality in a lot of ways. And he ends up relating to movies more than he does real life. He has all these movie trivia knowledge, and he's a fan of old school cinema, and he's gotten ridiculed for it, and it's almost like he lives in another world in his head. And he's sort of ignoring reality in a lot of ways. And one day things start to go too far and he starts to lose his mind, or starts to lose pieces of his mind, and he starts going and taking his revenge on people that he feels deserves it. And it's just the fact of this guy slowly losing his grip with reality and how far that takes him. And man, what an amazing movie this is. And I'm serious when I say that, man. This movie is awesome. This is another movie that I hanged out with Bob and we watched it, man. And both of us, again, had never seen Fade to Black. So this was a completely new experience for us. And we're watching this, and the movie intrigued us. It was never boring. We never felt like we were wasting our time with it. In fact, we were intrigued. We were leaning in more. We were like, what is going on with this guy? Like, what's, like, he's slowly, the reality is like getting lost on him. And it's one of those things where, he's obsessed with Marilyn Monroe. And he thinks this woman looks like Marilyn Monroe. And he's imagining her as Marilyn Monroe. That's fine and everything, but it goes to, like, creepy levels. Okay, fine, you can be a creep, I guess. You're still a creep, but fine, whatever. You're a harmless creep. But then it turns even more sinister. Like, he ends up dressing up like Bela Lugosi to go to the movies. And, along the way, he harms someone. He dresses up in, like, this Western outfit and shoots people. And it's just, taken into the nth degree further and further and further out of the realm of the real world. And it's just the fact that that he's losing touch with anything real. It's all movies all the time. There's he can't even grasp what reality is versus the movies anymore. And it's just a deep dive into psychology, into the idea of the fact that there is people like that can't tell. I mean, look, I'm a movie lover. I love movies, guys, but I have a grip on reality. I know what's real and what's not. Well, I'd like to hope I do. But what's interesting to me and what this movie reminded me of, and mind you, this movie was made way before that other movie was, but it reminded me a lot of The Cable Guy. Like when I was watching the movie, I got so many Cable Guy vibes. Yes, he has more of a grip on reality than this guy does, but like he's obviously like so clued into the TV aspect and the sitcoms, and he's just that's what he knows. That's his family, and that's what he lives for. And that's the same with this guy. And it's so fascinating to me. This movie was just really, really well made of a movie lover turned deranged killer. And so fantastic. Such a great deep dive into the psychology of a madman and where that will take you. I guess to say any one of us who are movie lovers could go down this path, right? You have some bad moments in your life. Maybe family members, unfortunately, have moved on, passed away. You break up with your significant other. You lose your job. People are ridiculing you. And look, your mindset can click and just go the other way. And it can happen. And this could be the result of it. It's wild, man. It really is wild, but I love this movie, man. I just thought it was just a great deep dive into psychological horror. It's got that slasher edge to it, but it's very psychological, and I really appreciated that, man. I thought this movie was absolutely phenomenal. The acting, spot on, man. In fact, I don't know whether this guy who played the main character Eric, I don't know if he did any other movies or not, but he was absolutely phenomenal here. I thought the direction was fantastic. I love the references to the old school movies. I love the old school posters. This guy works at this factory where they print old school movies and they preserve them. And the main boss in that facility had certain posters, had like a Halloween poster and a few other ones. And I was so fucking jealous. I literally was like, oh my god, I wish I could reach into the goddamn movie and fucking pull out those posters, man. Jesus. Like, I just loved everything about this movie, from the set design to the costume design of him becoming these iconic horror characters and switching his persona into these people so that he could kill. Like, I love that, man. I thought it was absolutely phenomenal. I really did, dude. I'm so pissed off that I had never seen it up until now. That really pissed me off, man, because I really love this film, and it's a great homage to old school classic cinema, but yet it has that deranged killer aspect to it that you can really vibe with, as in like, hey, it's not just about the cinema, it's about those great kills, and it's really awesome, man. And also, I gotta say, Mickey motherfucking Rourke is in this thing. I was not prepared for that. When Mickey Rourke showed up, I'm like, wait a minute, that's Mickey Rourke. And it's like, yeah, he played one of the guys who is basically bullying Eric and basically, shitting on him constantly. Oh, trust me, Mickey gets his comeuppance, okay? He does. You don't gotta wait till Iron Man 2. No, he gets his comeuppance, baby. So, it's so well done. And it really is a great slice of homage to motion picture cinema history, but yet a cautionary tale on how far somebody's mental state can go if they end up, going so far away from reality. It's really fascinating, man. I would actually, truth be told, I would actually love to see them do almost like not exactly the same shot for shot, but almost like a modern day retelling of this movie in the modern day. I would love to see that, almost like during like a pandemic time where they're shut out from the world and only have movies to really comfort them, and how they're losing their mind. I'd love to see that. That would be really fascinating to me, actually. But I mean, in the meantime, we have Fade to Black, and this movie is phenomenal, guys. Like, I am so glad this got a lot of great Vinegar Syndrome love, because it absolutely deserves it, man. This movie is awesome, dude. I mean, you get some great stuff here. You get a commentary track by the actor, has a lot of great, wonderful things to say. You get a commentary track with The Hysteria Continues, a lot of really great facts, hilarity, talking about the movie. Really fantastic there as well. You get an interview with the actor, the main actor. You get an interview with the executive producer, interview with the special effects artist, interview with one of the actresses, composer, with the editor, stylist, theatrical trailer. I mean, this movie has a lot of special features attached to it, and rightfully so. So amazing, so awesome. Love this movie to death. And it's got a really great death scene at the end, where he's sort of giving this great Hollywood speech and soliloquy about cinema and quoting movie lines, and he gets shot. He's like, ah, 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 ah. It was so great. You're like, man, can this fucker just die? Like, it's so good, man. I just love it so much. And this movie, man, I'm so glad that I found it. I'm so glad Vinegar Syndrome put such a great addition out there. It's such a great movie, guys. If you are a lover of old school cinema history and a fan of psychological slashers, Fade to Black is absolutely awesome. You will not regret it. Absolutely amazing, guys. Definitely check this one out. You will not regret it. Let's just hope that we don't go as crazy as he does. God help us. Fade to Black. And the next pickup that I got, guys, the last of the Vinegar Syndrome love, but definitely not least. And one of the main reasons why I even got the Black Friday sale. Oh, baby. Beastmaster! Oh! Yes! Beastmaster, baby. Oh my god, look at this beauty. Look at this gorgeous beauty. The epic adventure of a new kind of hero. Oh, look at this, man. This is sweet. Look at this, baby. Look at that artwork. So nice. Look at the backside. Oh, look at that. So good. Ooh, it's so nice. And then, this is great. Like talk about great packaging that Vincent does. Look at this. Got little magnetic opening, and then you get all of the love here. Look at that, man. You get a great booklet in here. The booklet is awesome. Look at this, man. It's got great, like, old school, like, poster artwork and scenes from the movie and certain articles, concept art. Amazing booklet. You also end up on the inside. Look at that inside art. Oh, look at that. That's cool. And then on the inside, oh, and then the back part of the art as well. Look at that. Oh, look at that. Cool. And then Beastmaster there. On the back side as well. Oh, man. And then great Beastmaster art. Killer. Dude, this is awesome, man. Oh, cool. Dude, gotta love it, man. This is amazing. This is amazing. Beastmaster, when Vinegar Syndrome announced this, I'm not gonna lie, man. I was like, I was jumping on that shit immediately. I was like, are you kidding me? Beastmaster? This is like this is one of those holy grail titles that I had to pick up, man. I just had to, and I'm so glad, dude. You have to remember something, okay? This is another one of those movies, VHS special, baby. I watched this back in the day on VHS, and you have to understand that sword and sorcery back in the day is not the sword and sorcery that we have now. Like, and now a lot of younger people have they're kind of spoiled a little bit, right? I mean, you have Lord of the Rings and you have Harry Potter and you have a lot of this stuff out there in the world now. Back in the day, you didn't have a lot of that stuff, okay? You had Crawl, you had Excalibur, you had Masters of the Universe, and you had Beastmaster, and Beastmaster was one of the best. And anytime Beastmaster was on TV, or my mother was like, "Hey, you want to watch the VHS?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course." Like, Beastmaster was my jam, dude. I loved Beastmaster so goddamn much, dude. I really did. And it's just one of those really great old school movies with really great old school effects and the cheesy acting, but that's the charm of the movie. It really is. I mean, basically, it's about this evil guy who wants to take over the throne, and basically, he was given this sort of prediction that says that you will die by the firstborn of X amount of like people within the village, whatever. And so he he takes over after killing the king and whatnot. And ever since then, he's been killing firstborns. He's been killing firstborns, getting rid of them. It doesn't matter, imprisoning them, you name it. He wants to keep his actual, like, throne. He wants to keep his reign. But what he forgot is that the actual firstborn that he was supposed to kill actually got away. Beastmaster, baby. Of course. If anyone's gonna take him down, it's gonna be Beastmaster, motherfucker. Yes, it is, dude. I love this movie, and like I said, there's something about Beastmaster, and I think it's the charm of it. It's the charm of the old school effects for the movie, of these characters that are trying to speak like Shakespearean, like dialogue in this cheesy sword and sorcery movie, which I always appreciated. And then you have fucking Rip Torn as the main bad guy, and I fucking love it, man. Rip Torn is so great, man, here, because he's menacing and he's just so dripping with evil. I love it, man. I thought this was so good. And I gotta give big props to Don Coscarelli. I really do, man, because man, Don is such a great filmmaker. You go from Kenny and Company to Phantasm to a series like Beastmaster, and then going to something like uh, John Dies at the End or Bubba Hotep. He loves genre cinema. And it really shows. And movies like Beastmaster are just old school, cheesy, classic sword and sorcery that, I mean, maybe people nowadays look at Beastmaster and kind of think like it's kind of ridiculous and over the top and cheapo and too cheesy for its own good. But I look at it differently. I look at it as just pure nostalgic, old school, sci-fi, medieval fun. And that's all I'm looking for, man. And Beastmaster delivers. It really, really does, dude. It's so great. I mean, even I believe Tanya Roberts, who not a long time back passed away, unfortunately. She is really amazing here. She is absolutely phenomenal. She plays this really great heroine who is sort of the love interest of Beastmaster. She does a phenomenal job in the role. I think everybody plays it in this sort of epic, you know, sword fantasy epic way, and it's so great. I love the comedy with the animals, and I love the action set pieces. I just think it's a really fun old school fantasy epic that they just don't make nowadays. And maybe it's because there's just too much CGI in the world now. Right? If this movie were to be made nowadays, it would have CGI up the ass. Right? The animals would be CGI, and all the backgrounds would be CGI, and the battle sequences, everybody would be CGI, and there's something that kind of gets lost in translation about that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I watched Lord of the Rings, and I think Lord of the Rings is absolutely amazing, and those fight sequences are so epic, and the CGI is amazing. Don't get me wrong, guys, but I grew up at a time when it was practical old school effects. It was rubber makeup, rubber masks, and just the cheesiness and over the top of it is something that I really enjoyed and I really loved, man. And this movie has it in spades, and I just love the shit out of it, dude. So things like Beastmaster, I just love, and I gotta give Vinegar Syndrome so much credit because this packaging is the tits, man. It's absolutely the tits. Look at this. This thing is absolutely gorgeous and amazing. I mean, they knew that people were fans of Beastmaster and they wanted to deliver, and I think they did, man. I mean, truth be told, and I think the 4K looks really phenomenal here. I really do. I mean, yes, it's not perfect, and I think they do the best they can to clean up the picture, but I think it's the best we're gonna get of Beastmaster. I don't think anyone could have done a better job. I think they do the best with the material they have, and I still think it shines really well, man. And you get so many really great stuff here. I mean, you end up getting the Beastmaster Chronicles, a feature-length making of documentary, and they interview a shitload of people, man. And I just love it. They dive into everything with this movie, man. The characters, the makeup effects, the directing, you name it, everything gets talked about here. And they do an absolutely phenomenal job. It's absolutely amazing, man. I mean, you get that. You get archival commentary track with Don Coscarelli. You end up getting home movies with audio commentary, Super 8 ones. You get alternate updated visual effects version as well, which is okay, but I like old school effects. You get outtakes, you get stills, promotional material as well, and a brand new commentary with Don Coscarelli as well, and so much more. Jesus, this movie is absolutely amazing, guys. You have no idea. It's been so long since I watched Beastmaster. And I don't know, it's something about those movies back in the day, right? Those old school movies that you grew up with as a kid that just kind of stick with you. Even if you hadn't watched them in a long time, you still remember them, right? And Beastmaster always stuck with me. It really did, man. And I think that Vinegar Syndrome, like when they announced it, I was like, I knew Vinegar Syndrome was going to do amazing with this, and they really did, and it absolutely shines, and they gave it the love that it rightfully deserves, and man, cross one off the bucket list. I mean, seriously, cross it off, man, because they gave Beastmaster amazing attention. Ah, so awesome, man. This thing is gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. And this is one of the best that Vincent has done by far, man. And now I'm going to actually put out a request. Can we get Beastmaster 2? I mean, come on. I love Beastmaster 2. That is a solid fantasy epic sequel, man. Can we get Beastmaster 2? Please. Please. If you do this half as good as you did this, I'll love you for life, man. I'll marry you, Vinegar Syndrome. Come on, man. Let's go to the wedding chapel now, damn it. God, oh. You make me so happy, Vinegar Syndrome. You really do, man. And this edition of Beastmaster is a holy grail that I am so happy to own, baby. So happy to own. Vincent, during their Black Friday sale, dare I say, absolutely delivered. And this time, whoo, I was a lucky physical media boy. Absolutely, man. Oh, so good. If you have never dived into Beastmaster Love, what the hell are you waiting for? Do it, because it's a great old school fantasy sword and sorcery epic that deserves to be seen. And it's finally in my collection. Thank you, Beastmaster. The Vinegar Syndrome love might be done, guys. But oh, there's more Black Friday goodness that I did, and that is Severin, baby. Oh, I did Vinegar. I had to go with Severin as well. They had a really great sale. I had to dive into it, guys. Picked up some good stuff there. But the first title that I got from the sale is none other than Blackenstein. Blackenstein, baby. I love that cover. I love that. Fantastic, man. Now, I have been through my fair share of Severin sales, and every single time I have, this movie ends up staring me in the face, and I always sort of pass by it. And this sale, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna give this one a chance. I'm gonna take a gamble on Blackenstein. Why not, man? And it's kind of interesting because when you hear of a name like Blackenstein, you're thinking this is going to be cheesy, this is going to be ridiculous, this is all going to be all kinds of fun, right? It's got to be. I mean, it's Blackenstein. Why wouldn't it be? I wish. Man, basically this movie is about this guy who unfortunately loses his arms and his legs in combat, and he's just been just really down, wanting to commit suicide, and his girlfriend, wife, whoever she is exactly, love interest, put it that way. She works for the scientist, and the scientist is doing this experimental procedure stuff, and she's like, yeah, I want my husband, my love interest, to do this. I want him to get the use of his legs and arms again. And the experimentation, well, it gives him what he's wanted, but there is side effects. And it's really basically him turning into almost this like Frankenstein-like monster. And there's a lot of other side plots of like the butler assistant to the scientist has the hots for the chick, and he's trying to manipulate the situation, and some shady stuff going on with the scientist itself. And there's all kinds of stuff, guys. Truth be told, I was really hoping this was gonna be cool. I thought it would be in the same vein, something very fun like Blackula, which is really fun. And I gotta admit, this movie was a bore. It really was, man. I was watching it, and at first it's kind of slow going, and I'm like, okay, maybe it takes a little bit to get going. Cool, fine, whatever. I totally get it. And then I'm watching more and more of it, and I'm like, it's not speeding up. It's not getting any more exciting. It's just people talking and talking, and a little bit of attacking here and there, but not a lot of stuff. And so I was like, when are we gonna get fun and excitement here? Like, the problem with this movie, guys, is that you see a title like Blackenstein, and you say to yourself, my God, this is gonna be cheesy, it's gonna be ridiculous and over the top and a wild movie. And that's what you go in expecting, because why wouldn't you think of anything else other than that? I mean, the movie's called Blackenstein. It pretty much is saying to you, this is going to be over the top, ridiculous, blaxploitation mixed with Frankenstein mythology. Okay, cool. I'm down for it. And it just didn't deliver, guys. It really didn't, man. And it's a cool concept, but I just don't think it was executed in the way that maybe they were hoping for, or maybe they just didn't understand what they had. I mean, truth be told, sometimes movies have a cool idea to it, and sometimes they just kind of fail. And Blackenstein great idea, but fails miserably. Just a bore, honestly. It really, honestly, it was just a slog to get through, which is a real shame because you would think a movie like Blackenstein wouldn't be that way, but it is. And that really sucks, man. I mean, give Severin a lot of credit because they give it a lot of love, man. I mean, they give you a lot of interviews, theatrical trailer, interviews with sort of the cast and crew, and you also get the theatrical release edition and you get the video release edition. Now, what's interesting here is that one of the editions is a longer cut of the film. The problem with the longer cut is that a lot of the sequences are it goes from like high def to like standard def is what it does. It goes to like, good picture quality to bad picture quality with the extended scenes. And I understand because they explained it in that, the elements and everything weren't great and trying to clean it up the best they could to integrate it. I understand it. I get it. I watched both cuts, and honestly, I didn't like either cut because it was still slow and a slog to get through. But if I had to say, I would probably pick the shorter runtime cut. And the reason why I say that is because you get through it quicker. And I'm serious, man. I mean, look, damn it. This had a great idea. It had all the potential in the world. And it's just one of those movies, and there is movies like Blackenstein out there that you see the name of the movie and you think, oh, this is going to be cool. Like, you instantly pick it up because of the name. We've all been there. Come on, guys. You know you have. You've been to a rental store before, or you've been to a Best Buy, or you've been online shopping for movies, and you see a title. And the title alone gets you. And then you say, this is going to be really cool. And then when you get home and you watch it, you just are like, man, this thing was rough, dude. And that's what Blackenstein is. I'd like to say they tried, but I don't even think they really did as much of trying as they could have with this movie. It could have been so crazy, wild, and insane movie that you have to watch, and it just turns into wah wah. It's a real shame, man. This one I'm not keeping it in the collection. It was worth at least to give it a try, but Blackenstein turned out to be a big ol' bore. And the next title with the Sovereign Love is none other than The Black Cat. Look at this really, really great cover, man. That's great. Look at that. Oh, they seem happy, but they're about to get all kinds of fucked up. Oh man, oh man. This one I was definitely interested in. I don't know, the cover sort of got me, and it's Italian horror cinema. And I gotta tell you, there's something about Italian horror cinema that is so over the top and ridiculous and always tries to one up America in some ways that you kind of have to appreciate how they just go for it, man. And literally cheesy, ridiculous, man. Damn, they pour their hearts into it, and whew, the Black Cat, man. Basically, it's about this production company that is filming this horror movie, and there's this demon that gets unleashed that is attacking people, and there's a connection with this woman. It's a very bizarre movie, man. Very, very bizarre. But it's one of those, again, really sort of in the vein of sort of those ghost demonic Italian movies, man. And you just know that there's all kinds of like blood and gore and crazy effects and ridiculous over the top acting. This movie has it all, man. And I had a lot of fun with this movie, man. I really did. I mean, ridiculous, crazy as it is, the wild special effects in here, man, with the demonic entity and everything. My God, man, it was it was kind of balls to the wall, but in a very fun, entertaining, weird way. And one of the reasons why I say that is because there's sequences in this movie that should be really sort of atmospheric and creepy and almost like you're anticipating something, but that's not what you get here. I mean, yes, those scenes happen, but the music is completely weird in this thing. Like those scenes that should be, kind of creepy and atmospheric and everything like that, they're playing this like rock music, like this 80s rock music in those scenes, right? So, just imagine, like, for instance, The Conjuring, right? If you were to watch The Conjuring and it has all those really sort of creepy, slowish type of scares and atmosphere and everything, and just instead, like, there was literally like, it's like you're like, what the? You're like, I'm literally like, wait a second. Like, I mean, that would be cool, and it's kind of cool here, but it was really unexpected. It's like literally, you're just like, oh, this is really, really gonna be a creepy scene, and it's just like, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, seriously? Seriously, we're gonna do this now? Like, oh my god, man. What craziness with this movie, man. Just with the effects and the cheesy 80s rock electric guitar soundtrack that sometimes made absolutely no sense. I guess that it's a fun movie, man. It's just over the top and ridiculous, but then again, that's 80s Italian cinema, isn't it? I mean, God knows there's so many 80s Italian movies out there that are so over the fucking top, man. I mean, you look at a movie like Demons. Okay, like Demons is one of the epitomes of really wild and crazy 80s Italian cinema, man. But honestly, put Black Cat there because Black Cat is just a really crazy, wild experience. I mean, for a movie that's based off of an Edgar Allan Poe story, boy, they went in some wild directions with this thing. And God bless their hearts, man. I mean, goddamn those Italians. Man, they know how to make a wild experience. Let me tell you, man. I can't say that this movie makes all kinds of sense because it kind of doesn't. But I had a hell of a fun time watching it, and I think that's really, at the end of the day, what matters. I mean, I'll just have to be prepared for the crazy, weird rock soundtrack, which, seriously, it's it's an experience where you go, I don't know what the fuck I just watched, but I know I watched something, and it was really fun, and that is pretty much the Black Hat in a nutshell. Fun. If you find it for a good price, take advantage of it. 80s Italian cinema. You could do a crazy deep dive with some really ridiculous cheese and include Black Cat in that. Not bad. The Black Cat. And the next piece of Sovereign Love. This was one I was on the fence about, but I'm really glad that I got it, man. And that is none other than Tales of the Uncanny. Yes, indeed, man. Very interesting. The ultimate survey of anthology horror. Oh, baby. Now, this was one that they were selling, one of the newer ones for Black Friday. And if you guys know anything about me as far as horror movies are concerned, I say it all the time. I love, love, love horror anthologies, man. I think they are some of the best. And I don't care if we're talking about newer or older, whether we're talking about Tales from the Hood, From a Whisper to a Scream, Creep Show, Creep Show 2, not Creep Show 3. We're not going with Creep Show 3. but there's a lot of ones that I really really love, man. And anthology horror is some of the best. I mean, even one of the more recent ones I really love, the Mortuary Collection. So much really great horror anthology love out there, guys, to really dive into. I mean, I love the TV stuff like Tales from the Crypt and Twilight Zone, amazing stories, you name it. And so it was kind of interesting being a lover of that and wanting to check this thing out. Now, actually, truth be told, this was actually supposed to be a bonus feature on another movie that they were releasing during the Black Friday sale, but this thing just kind of ballooned and it became its own big documentary. And they said, well, instead of putting it on the other disc, why don't we just make it its own separate thing? So why not, man? And basically, what this is they interview filmmakers, actors, critics, people within the horror genre, and talking to them about their favorite horror anthologies, their favorite moments in horror anthologies, and just talking about uh, the way that horror anthologies are made and the sort of challenges of a horror anthology and the evolution of horror anthologies. And it is really fantastic. Now, mind you, this was filmed mainly during the pandemic because it was one of those projects that they had planned, but then the COVID-19 hit, and basically all of it is through, most of it actually, is through the whole idea of Skyping and, seeing, things. So the quality is, here and there, but I think it still comes out really fantastic regardless, man. I really honestly do. And what's really fascinating about this documentary, at least to me what was fascinating about it, is that yes, I am a lover of horror anthologies, but I'm gonna admit to you, I don't know everything about horror anthologies. I mean, truth be told, I really don't. I mean, this dived into a lot of horror anthologies that I never even knew of, like old school ones from way back in the day that I was like, wow, with all this really great talent in those movies, how have I not known about these ones? And it's just it's just a great deep dive into talking about horror anthologies and what makes horror anthologies special and how these filmmakers and how the horror genre has been influenced by them over many, many generations and decades. It is amazing. It's absolutely fantastic. I mean, they interview a lot of people here. They interview Mick Garris, Joe Dante, Greg Nicotero, Larry Feazenton, Richard Stanley, Tom Savini, Ernest Dickerson, David Dakota, Brian Usna, Roger Corman, and a bunch of other people, man. I mean, these people, they are not only fans of the genre, but they've worked within the genre, so they know the ins and outs. So you trust their opinions. You know that they're not just talking out of their ass, that they actually know about the genre itself. And it's so fascinating to just take this deep dive into horror anthology love. I love these type of documentaries. I truly do, man. You know, yes, I love watching the movies themselves, but there's something about a documentary about diving into a certain genre or the making of stuff that would really fascinates me. And this is so up my alley, man. This is amazing. I loved every single second of this. I thought it was brilliant, man. I mean, yeah, COVID-19 sort of killed it a little bit with, the whole communication aspect within the documentary, but putting that aside, this thing is phenomenal, man, and I'm so glad I gave it a chance. I mean, Severin gave this a lot of love, and you get some interesting special features. You get some horror anthologies, some old school horror anthologies in this special features, man. You get the 1919 horror anthology Eerie Tales, which is so fantastic, man. From 1919. Again, talk about like just doing a deep dive into old school horror anthologies, movies that really influence other ones. And just to take a deep dive into this, I thought it was actually a really interesting horror anthology. Can't say it's my favorite, because, some of the stories not as good as what it is, obviously nowadays, but give them credit for trying, especially back in 1919. Like, that's really fascinating to me. As a horror anthology type of tale back then, that was wild. That's pretty cool, man. You also get Unusual Tales from 1949, which is French. And that's an interesting one, too. And, they do go into, in the documentary, obviously, it's not just, obviously, the United States that is only able to do these horror anthologies. They talk about ones from Italy, ones from, obviously, overseas, French, and you name it, and how they were influenced by some of the American stuff, and the American stuff was influenced by them, and it's just sort of formed into this interesting evolution that continues to this day. I loved this deep dive. I truly did, man. I loved it. I mean, they talk about horror anthologies that like Trilogy of Terror, and obviously Creep Show and stuff that but I was really appreciative of the stuff that I didn't know, of the stuff that passed me by, stuff that Vincent Price was in, or a lot of the old school, Universal actors from back in the day that did a lot of horror stuff. The fact that they were in some of these ones, Christopher Lee and whatnot, and I was like, wow, it was amazing. It was amazing to sort of take this journey, and I just loved it. I really did, man. I mean, if you are any kind of horror anthology lover, and by the way, who is it, man? Because horror anthologies are some of the best within the horror genre. I mean, let's be real here. No horror anthology is 100% perfect. There's always something that we nitpick about, or a certain story that is better than others. But the reason why we do it is because, we're always striving for perfection as horror lovers. We always want that perfect horror anthology. And we'll never truly get there because we're always sort of, bitching and complaining about something. But I got to admit, man, this one was such a great journey into what makes a horror anthology what it is, and just the evolution of the genre, movie by movie, decade by decade, and how the horror changed, how the political times changed, and how these movies went with it. So fantastic, so amazing, and if you get a chance to watch this, please do, because what a wonderful deep dive this is, man. What a great surprise. I'm so glad I picked this up. Severin killed it. What a great documentary about horror anthologies. One that is a must watch, dare I say, and a damn good one. Tales of the Uncanny. And the next title for that Severin love is none other than The Attic Expeditions. So, very interesting title. This is another one that was featured for their Black Friday sale, and I was very curious about this one. The reason why I picked it up was because of the cast. Seth Green, Jeffrey Combs, Ted Raimi. I mean, those are some really great genre heavy hitters, dare I say. So, I decided I'm going to give it a little bit of a look, man. And basically, what this movie is about is it's about this young man who is sent to this, like, asylum, and he's basically there for life because of brutally killing his girlfriend. And the interesting thing about it is it real? Did he really kill his girlfriend, or is this all in his head, manipulated by the evil doctor played by Jeffrey Combs? Is this all an experiment gone terribly wrong, or did it actually happen and he's trying to block it from his mind? Good luck trying to find the answers, guys. Wow. Look, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I really found this movie to be very intriguing. Truly, very intriguing. Now, I can't say that this movie made a hell of a lot of sense all the time because it's going from like one scenario to another. It's jumping around different timelines and different scenarios. And when you think you have it figured out, when you think you know where it might be going, it goes in another direction where you're like, hold on a second, what about the other stuff that I just saw? Well, fuck that. We're now on this train. And I'm like, okay, cool. Look, this movie is a mindfuck movie. Okay, it's not the most perfect mindfuck movie of all time. There is better mindfuck movies out there, but this one is very fascinating and very interesting. And I like the idea of the lines between reality and perhaps your dreams or stuff within your mind and how it's all sort of blurring and you don't know what's real and what's not. And it's some really fascinating stuff. I'm not gonna lie, man. And it's interesting because this movie came out in 2000. Now, I had never heard about this movie before. I had no idea about this movie. Didn't even know that it existed. And you know, I'm thinking about this because think about 2000. I mean, Seth Green is in this. Seth Green, of course, was starting to become a bigger known actor. And so, how would I not know about this? You have somebody like a Jeffrey Combs that wasn't exactly high profile anymore, but very big within the Star Trek realm. And so, you would have thought you would have heard about this a little more. Ted Raimi, the big genre type of star, you thought you would have heard about it. But no. And the one thing I can think of why I had never heard about this one before was if you think about this movie coming out in 2000, and if you think about the horror genre at that point, right? Because the horror genre was in very much a transitionary mode at that point. You had a lot of this sort of, a lot of the Asian influence ghost stories that were really starting to come into prevalence. Obviously, you would have, obviously, obviously the saws of the world and torture porn becoming more of a thing. And it was sort of like also like the remake train was really popular at that point. So it was a lot of different things sort of fighting each other within the horror genre. And I think a movie like this kind of got drowned out a bit because it's not a torture porn movie. It's not technically a ghost story or Asian influence, and of course, it's not really a remake either. So, where did it really fit in that point in the horror genre? Not really. So it probably got drowned out, which is why I had never heard about it before. But I gotta admit, I do really enjoy this movie. I mean, I think the performances are really great. I think everybody does a phenomenal job. And what's really great about it is, again, the idea that you don't know what you can trust. You don't know what your mind can trust. Like you see him killing his girlfriend, but yet somehow she's still around in different sort of time periods that she's not supposed to be there. There's this whole like attic and there's this chest that this guy opens up and it's very significant and it's very dreamlike qualities where he goes into the chest almost like he's going into sort of the dream world or into his mind or back into reality. Like it has so many symbols and so many sort of hidden messages within the film. And you know, when I watched the movie, when I finished watching it, I said to myself, I was like, I really enjoyed this, but if you were to like put a gun to my head and ask me to like, do you understand this movie? And I'm gonna be like, no, no, I don't understand this movie. I liked it, but I don't, and I think it's a movie that needs to be rewatched numerous times because I feel like this is a movie that you'll understand it the more you watch it. I think the first time that I watched this, I was just so I was like, well, everything's going on. I'm trying to pay attention, and some crazy stuff, mind-bending stuff is going on, and you don't know who to trust, you don't know what character to believe, and it's a whirlwind of ideas and interesting plot lines that at first doesn't seem like it really comes together. But I think, like I said, the more you dive into this movie, the more you explore it, I think the more it's going to make sense, and I think the more you're really going to understand what the hell you just witnessed. It's a fascinating movie, man. It truly, honestly is, and I really enjoyed this one quite a bit, man. I thought it was mind-bendy. I like the imagery here. I like the blood and gore, the characters, the acting. I thought it did pretty well, man. For sort of an indie horror psychological flick back in the day, I'm glad I finally found it, man. And Severin did a great job here. I mean, truly, they did a really awesome job here. You get cast and crew reflect on the attic expeditions, and really, there's various people from the cast and crew who talk about it, the making of it, and the release of it, and how it got perceived, and how they think about it many, many years later. Very fascinating stuff, man. You also get Alice Cooper and Jeffrey Combs reunion, and it's very interesting because yes, Alice Cooper is in this movie, man. I mean, he doesn't have a big role; it's a small role, man. But it's still Alice motherfucking Cooper, man. So it's cool to see him in there, and it's a really fun discussion that him and Jeffrey Combs have. You also end up getting a horror scholar contextualizes the attic expeditions, and it's just basically this person really talking about this movie and the themes of it and its place within the horror genre and other horror movies that are like it. It's very interesting little featurette that I like. And you also end up getting in here as well. You also get the soundtrack as well in this, which is really cool too. I gotta admit, man, there's certain movies that are the sort of what the fucks of the world. And this is one of those movies, man. But yet, it's really fascinating. Because some of those movies, I'm not gonna lie, could be outright bores. They could be big old bores, man. And you sit there and you're like, yeah, it was kind of weird and messed up, but I was kind of bored the whole time. I don't think you're really gonna be bored with the attic expeditions. There's enough like weird sort of psychological stuff going on, quirky characters, crazy situations that I was never bored, but I was always fascinated by what I was watching, man. I can't tell you that I know everything that happened with this movie. I can't really even explain it all that well, but I did like it. And I gotta admit, that is a plus, man. And with the Attic Expeditions, this is a little gem that I'm definitely glad that I found. If you're interested in psychological deep dive weirdness, give the Attic Expeditions a try. It's one crazy mind fuckery. And last, but certainly not least, in this mega haul, the last title for December and the last of the Severin Pick Up Love. And speaking of horror anthologies, yes, we've got The Theater Bazaar. Udo Kier has reserved a seat for you at Theater Bazaar. Yes, indeed, baby. This is really nice right here, man. Oh, baby, some horror anthology love. Could I really pass it up? I don't think so, guys. Now, this is another one that was definitely featured for their Black Friday sale, and I wanted to check this out. Truth be told, once I was like Udo Kier, I was on board. I was like, okay, if Udo's in it, like I gotta at least check this goddamn thing out, dude. Now, I've told you guys I'm a huge horror anthology lover, which I am. But here's the thing, though, guys. Even if I'm a certain fan of a certain genre, like horror, and I really am, I don't know everything. There's a lot of movies that have passed me by that I find years later, and this is yet another one of those. it's interesting because, I've seen a lot of movies. And I think a lot of people, the perception is that when you've seen a lot of movies, oh, you must have seen everything. And that's just simply not the truth, guys. There's a lot of stuff that has literally slipped past me, stuff that maybe I didn't give a chance to that I should have. And not every horror anthology is well known. Not everything is one that is going to catch your attention. But maybe eventually down the line you will find it. Maybe eventually down the line you will give it a chance. And Theater Bazaar is one of those, guys. Now, interesting that this movie came out in 2011 and I'm just finding it in 2021. How crazy is that, man? Jesus. 10 years later. But then again, better late than never, dare I say. So yes, this is a horror anthology that tells 6 creepy tales, and your host for the evening, Udo Kier. Yes, and this is a really unique and interesting horror anthology that has some really unique and interesting directors attached to a lot of the tales here. You have Douglas Buck, Buddy Giovanazzo, David Gregory, Kareem Hassan, Jeremy Kasdan, Tom Savini, and Richard Stanley are all telling different tales of unique and bizarre horrors. Yes, I gotta admit that this movie was a real pleasant surprise for me. It really was. And look, I've seen a lot of horror anthologies, and I've been through a lot of weird and creepy tales watching a lot of that stuff. And some of it has impressed me, and other stuff, yeah, not so much, man. But this was very unique and interesting because it's not your typical horror anthology tale. There's a little more to chew on. There's a little bit more creepiness and blood and gore and inventiveness. And I think the thing about it is with horror anthologies, I think everyone's trying to up the bar, right? Like, you have Creepshow, and then you have, obviously, some of the other ones out there, Black Sabbath, and you have Trilogy of Terror, and you have a lot of these movies that have told some really great tales, that have really been well-known horror anthologies that give you the creeps, that give you some great horror tales that you can really chew on. And every horror anthology sort of sees those movies and says, I want to up the ante. I want to be the next Creepshow. I want to be the next whatever. And a lot of times they fall flat on their face because what you're trying to do is you're trying to replicate greatness again. And sometimes that's easier said than done. What they're trying to do is not exactly one-up some of these people, but sort of reinvent it in their own unique way, which I really appreciate it. And this is some interesting stuff, man. I mean, as I said, I really like this here. This is really cool. It kind of gives you a little overview of some of the tales here. Whether it's Grand Guignol Sweets, The Accident, I Love You, Wet Dreams, Vision Stains, and The Mother of Toads. Now, I will say this. I won't really dive into them because I think it's kind of cool to watch it on your own to sort of dive into some of this stuff, go into it really fresh. But some of my favorite ones, one of my favorites was The Mother of Toads. Let me tell you something. The next time I see a really hot chick and she's interested in me, I think I'm gonna decline. Yeah. After watching that, I can't. Oh, you scarred me for life, damn it. Let's just say taking a detour might not be the best option. Let's put it that way. That was a really good one. I really liked the I Love You segment. I thought the I Love You segment was really great. Basically about this guy that doesn't want to let this woman go who's obsessed with her, who loves her so much, and it just goes to very maddening and crazy results, which I really love. I also really did love the Vision Stains one of this woman injecting people's memories into her eyeballs. Like, very crazy stuff, man. I mean, and I also really loved Wet Dreams. I thought Wet Dreams was really fantastic. And talk about, man, why do you have to ruin women for me? Why? Why? Oh my god, man. Let's just say that. Uh, the female anatomy might never be the same. Oh my god. It's some wild and crazy rides, man, in this. It really is. And I love it all hosted by Udo Kier. And Udo Kier in this, he plays this sort of almost like a puppet coming to life. Like he ends up actually kind of like he's in this abandoned theater and this girl comes in and she's lonely and she's looking for entertainment and this guy sort of lures her into the theater and it's all of these sort of weird inanimate puppets that are around. But are they? Because they you kind of see slight movements, you're not sure, and Udo Kier is sort of like this puppet that's sort of coming to life slowly with each story, and and when he's turning into more reality, the lady might be turning more into a puppet and part of the theater. Like it's kind of crazy and it's ridiculous, but I like it, man. I really do. There's something about this movie that was unique because it was its own thing. These are stories that I have never seen in a horror anthology before. And that's another thing that I really appreciated. Because here's the truth of it, guys. The truth of it is that a lot of horror anthologies nowadays, the ones that are coming out in the last 10, 20 years, they're they're always trying to replicate a lot of horror anthologies that have come before it. They're always trying to be the next best thing, being the next, well, if Creepshow did it, we could do it just like Creepshow, or Black Sabbath did it, or Trilogy of Terror, or Tales from the Hood. God knows, Tales from the Hood has been trying to like one up itself for the past few years, and failing flat in its face. So I really appreciate when a horror anthology comes along that, yes, can pay homage to the stuff that came before it, but also spin its own unique place within the genre. And I think Theater Bazaar really does that, man. I think it's some very unique tales. I think it's some very, very unique filmmakers putting their stamp on the horror anthology, putting their stamp on really making a unique, bizarre experience that you've never seen before. And I really appreciate that, man. I really do. And I love discovering things that I've never heard of before and giving them a chance. And when Severin said, "Hey, we're putting out this horror anthology, very unique one that actually Severin had an interest in. They actually helped make this movie years and years ago, which is kind of crazy to think that they helped make this thing and it never really got a lot of notice to it." And again, it might have just been the fact that you have to remember in the last 10 or 20 years, horror anthology has not really been a thing. It's been other sort of things within the genre. It's been ghost stories. It's been torture porn. It's been all of that jazz. And in a lot of ways, movies like the Attic Expeditions or Theater Bazaar, they get sort of swept under the rug. And the reason why they get swept under the rug is the fact that really the genre is no longer supporting these type of movies. So they just don't care anymore. But it's so awesome. It's so great of a horror anthology. I really love this one quite a bit, guys. And you get so much great stuff here. You get You get the 2020 filmmaker's audio commentary, which is amazing. The 2012 filmmaker audio commentary as well. Both are really fascinating for their own unique ways. One not so far away from when the production was, and one sort of almost 10 years later, and it's sort of interesting juxtaposing those two commentaries, what they had to say. Fantastic interview segments with the directors, making of segments of the different parts of the horror anthology, which is amazing. Obviously, the bonus CD soundtrack and a bunch of like theatrical trailers and still galleries and all this stuff. You get such amazing stuff in here, guys. This is absolutely an amazing, amazing, even though it's been 10 years, new school horror anthology, which I think you guys will really enjoy. I really do. Not every horror anthology is created equal. A lot of the newer ones really suck and are terrible, but there's something about the Theater Bazaar that's really unique and fascinating. And if you're looking for something new within the horror anthology to check out, Udo Kier presents Theater Bazaar. All right, everybody. That'll do it for the Blu-ray Pickles video for December of 2020. We're done. O'Doyle rules. Like as like the car's going off the cliff, like O'Doyle rules, and that goes off, man. Oh my God, man, this has been crazy and wild. Trying to get this video done, man. It's been nuts. Finally, whew, it's done. It's over. And the final pickups of 2020, dare I say, oh, I think they impressed, guys. What do you think? Oh, I think they definitely impressed. Oh my God, did they impress indeed. Wow. What a great stack for the final month of 2020. And actually, guys, I gotta be honest, the whole year of 2020, the pickups that I got for the whole year was amazing. You know, it's kind of crazy because with the pandemic and everything, there was a part of me that said, God, I don't know if I'm gonna find a lot of really great physical media in 2020. And man, did I prove myself wrong. There is so much really great physical media that came out in 2020. And this is just the cherry on top. I mean, my God, it's such amazing titles that came out for that year. And man, this stack proves that, man, there was some gems in 2020. And, man, go back, look at all of the 2020 pickups, and you will see some really great stuff that I was so happy to pick up, man. And December is no exception, man. God, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, definitely give it the thumbs up. And now, boy, we can officially get into 2021. Finally, we are heading towards the January pickups, which will feature some Kino Lorber love, MVD love, Arrow Video Collector Edition love. Yes, it will indeed. It'll be a small stack, but some really unique titles. So definitely stay tuned for that, guys. And also an announcement for you guys as well. Yes, because now with the 2020 pickups out of the way, all of those done, eventually this year, guys, this year, well, maybe. You guys gotta let me know what you think about this. I'm thinking about doing a Blu-ray collection video for you guys. I wanted to get done all the 2020 pickups, and then I want to start to think about a Blu-ray collection video, showing off all of the collection, the DVDs, the Blu-rays, the 4Ks. I've been thinking about doing it for a while, and it's either going to be sometime this year or sometime next year, depending. I've gotten a lot of requests for it, so it's now something I'm really starting to think about, so I'm kind of curious as to what you guys think. Let me know, would you be interested in it? I know these pickups show off a lot, but you might have missed some, so maybe the collection video would be kind of cool to do eventually down the line. I'm thinking about it. And I want to know your guys' opinion. So definitely give me an opinion on that. And give me an opinion on the pickup for December. What did you think? Good, bad, weird, bizarre, odd, ridiculous? You guys know what I pick up, man. It's always very fascinating, regardless, man. So definitely let me know what you think of those pickups. And let me know what you picked up for December of 2020. It's been a while. Rack that brain. I am very curious to see what you guys picked up for the final month of December. And now we're heading into the 2021 pickups, and there's going to be so much really fascinating material. I got a lot of great pickups to show you guys. It's going to be amazing, so definitely stay tuned to all of that. And thank you for the support. Thank you for the love that you guys have given me, the patience, understanding. It has been absolutely phenomenal. Thank you from the bottom of my heart so much. I truly appreciate it, man. You give me the love, and I hopefully will give you the love right back, man. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, definitely do that. Become a part of the Film Fan Nation. I do Blu-ray pickup videos, I do Blu-ray DVD out and about videos every single week, movie reviews with my friends, movie hunting like Dollar Tree hunts, live streams, and so much more. If you're a lover of movies and physical media, definitely hit subscribe and become a part of the Film Fan Nation. Also, keep up to date with everything I'm doing through Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Film Fan 108. Keep up to date with everything I'm doing, plus special pictures and videos I do from time to time on social media as well. Woo! We are done. 2020 pickups are over, and it has been tremendous pickups that I have gotten for the year. But oh, it might be beat because 2021 is going to be amazing, and I can't wait to dive into it. But in the meantime, guys, thank you for watching this video. Stay tuned for more Blu-ray pickup love. Thank you for the support on the channel, and I will see you back next time for a brand new Blu-ray pickups video, the start of 2021. Can't wait. Take care, everybody, and remember, happy hunting.